Hi guys, so today we're gonna be telling a story about Doromio and Doriliet. In old Verona, the Doropulets and the Doriticus hate each other, but two of them from each family will fall in love and die, which will stop the quarrel. In the streets, some Doriticus and some Doropulets start fighting and insulting each other until it gets physical. The prince comes in and tells them to stop fighting. If they keep street fighting, they'll be punished. But Doromio isn't very amused by the fight. Doromio is very sad because he loves a girl named Dorosaline who doesn't love him back. Doromio tries to comfort him and tells him to forget about her. While this, an old man comes to Lord Doropulet to ask to marry Doriliet. He is Doris. Lord Doropulet says no because she is too young, but he invites Doris to a party they're hosting tonight. Doromio and Doribolio run into a serving man who is handing out the invitations to the party. They decide to sneak in, so Dorobio hopes his cousin finds another girl and forgets about Dorosaline. Back at Doriliet's house, the nurse and her mom are trying to convince her to marry Doris. She says she'll think about it. Doromio, being emo, doesn't want to go to the party, but Dorobio and Doricutio make him go. At the party, Doromio and Doriliet see each other, and now they are in love, only to realize they're from enemy families.
It's enough for this restless warrior just to be with you. And can you feel the love tonight?
Doromio and Doriliet are madly in love now. Later in the night, Doromio sneaks into the Doropulet's backyard to see Doriliet. Doromio hatched for a bit watching her, as he is completely locked of how pretty she is. At the same time, she is very sad because Doromio is a Dortigu and they cannot be together because their families hate each other. Doromio comes out of fighting. They both jab and decide to get married in secret, but Doriliet asks Romeo to tell her he loves her. After a while, the nurse calls Juliet from the inside, and they have to say goodbye. Later, Doromio goes to Toyar Dolorens. He tells him he is in love with Doriliet, and he wants to get married with her today. Dolorens is shocked how he has gotten aboard Dorosaline, and he warns him about moving on so fast. He is going to help them get married either way, in hope it can stop the quarrel between the Doritigius and the Doripulets. Meanwhile, Doromio's cousins are wondering where he is. They believe he is still emo about Dorosaline, but suddenly Doromio comes in very happily. The cousins are teasing each other. Then the nurse arrives, and Doromio tells her about the marriage with Dolorens. That same night, the nurse is gonna help Doromio into Doriliet's room now that they are married. After being a nervous wreck, Juliet receives the news from Romeo that he sent with the nurse. Then they get married at Dolores' cellar after less than 24 hours from meeting each other. I think that's a red flag. A group of Doripulets with Doribots is looking for Doromio. Dorito challenges him to fight, but he doesn't want to fight since they're family now. Dorito gets angry at this and draws his sword towards Doromio, but Doricutio is also mad for Doromio for not taking the fight. He also pulls his sword towards Doripol's. A chaotic fight begins. Doromio tries to separate them, but it's too late. Doripol's has stabbed Doricutio and he dies. Doromio is sad now. Now Doromio is angry, very angry. To revenge Mercutio, he kills Sibols. Later, the prince comes in and wants to know what happened. Doripolio, who had witnessed the whole thing, explains to him. To make justice, the prince exiles Doromio. In the Doriliet home, the nurse tells the news that Romeo is exiled to Doriliet. She is very sad now. Meanwhile, Doromio is currently with Dorolens to ask what to do because he cannot be without Doriliet since he's exiled. Dorolens tells him to visit Doriliet and they'll figure something out. At the same time, at the Doriliet house, Doriliet's parents decide Doris is gonna marry her. Later that week on Thursday, unknowingly, she is already married. After enjoying each other's company the whole night, it is time for Doromio to leave. Since he was banished, he leaves. Then Doriliet's parents come and make her marry Doris, or else she'll end up on the street. She pretends to accept. Then later she will go to Dorolens for help. Doris is currently visiting the royal Dorolens, happy to marry Doriliet. Being careful, Dorolens is trying to get the marriage held back, since Doriliet is already married. Doriliet arrives to ask Dorolens for help, but by coincidence, Doris is there. He tries to raise her up, but she isn't feeling it. When Doris leaves, Doriliet starts crying as she dumps all of her problems to the royal Dorolens. To fix things, Dorolens comes up with a plan, a potion that will make her temporarily dead. Everybody will think she actually is dead, so they will take her to the Doriliet burial vault. Then Doromio will come and get her, and where they can run away and live happily ever after. Doriliet, willing to do anything other than to marry Paris, she agrees. While this, the Doriliets are making arrangements for the big day. Doriliet goes back to her house and she pretends to accept to marry Doris, but now it turns out that the wedding won't be Thursday, but it will be tomorrow. Doriliet goes into her room, lies on her bed, and drinks the potion that will make her temporarily dead. The next day, the nurse comes into the room to wake her up. She calls her, but Doriliet doesn't respond, so she starts shaking her. She doesn't respond. So she is dead. Everyone in the house thinks she is dead. Everybody's crying now. They are very sad. Now it's a funeral party. How exciting! Instead of a wedding party. They take her to the Capulet vault. Everything in the plan is working until now. Yay.
I'm so smart.
Doromio is now in Mantua, the city where he ran after being exiled. Out of nowhere, Dorito Star comes with terrible news. His dear Doriliet is dead, very, very dead. Doromio is instantly shattered by the news. He hurries back to Verona. He plans to kill himself to be with Doriliet. To accomplish this, he gives all of his money to a man who is about to starve to death, in exchange for a potion that will kill him instantly. While this is happening, another royal tells the royal Dolores he was unable to deliver the card to Doromio due to a quarantine. That card was the one that said that Doriliet wasn't actually dead. He runs to Doriliet's tomb. While this, Doris is at Doriliet's tomb and Doromio arrives. Doris is very angry to see him, but very, very, very angry. They fight, and Doromio kills Paris. Doromio goes to Doriliet's tomb. He says that her cheeks are still red and she appears like she's just sleeping, not like she's dead. He tells her a few more words, kisses her, and drinks the poison. The royal Dolorian comes in only a few seconds too late. He says both Doromio and Doris dead. In that same moment, Doriliet wakes up. Doriliet is confused. The Dorayol explains everything to her. She is extremely sad. The Dorayol says to her that to wait while he gets some nuns for her to comfort her. After he leaves, Doriliet kisses Doromio. With no poison left, she stabs herself. Suddenly, everybody comes in, the Doriliets and the Doritos. Everybody is demanding to know what happened. They are very, 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 very sad now. They're so sad. Both of their family members just died. Dolores tells everybody the sad story about Doromio and Doriliet and about how everything happened. The prince notes that they can all learn from this strategy. The Doritos and the Doriliets are no longer enemies. The prince also notes that some are gonna be punished. The Dorayol, feeling that fault, hopes that he is punished. Doromio and Doriliet ended such a nasty quarrel between two families. They had to die for them to be at peace.